Hey, Jordan.
Hey, good morning
Good morning to you too.
or afternoon, I should say.
Yeah, either one works.
I'll make sure to say afternoon to everyone else.
I feel like if you say good morning, it throws them off and then they're engaged more with the presentation.
Oh, there we go. I like that. I like that theory. Oh man. Oh, how you feeling?
Good. I as I'm putting this thing together, um, which I got some students, so I was not able to send it to you because I just finished putting together like an hour or two ago. Hey, Debbie. I was like, this is not a flashy presentation at all, but um, I think hopefully people are going to walk away with a strategy
Yeah,
to think about how to not just throw, I don't know, random shit onto the internet and be like, we've done social media. That's that's the goal today, is to
yes.
get them to stop doing that.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's it's all about, for me anyways, that's kind of like the mindset I had with mine was it's more about the message than it is
Mhm.
flashy or getting too into the weeds, just kind of sharing um your kind of ideology and stuff. I think that's a lot of
Yeah,
what people is good for them to hear on this topic.
yeah. Well, what I ended up actually doing is I created a Google form that
Uh-huh.
I'll be sharing. So it's like a worksheet. So my plan is to actually go through the steps to identify like your purpose, your stakeholders, um, help them create a copy word bank, and then
Uh-huh.
choose the platforms they want to do, and then start building a strategy. But it's all built into this Google form, and I have it so that if folks fill it out, the responses will get sent back to them on an email, so they'll be
Hmm.
able to take that with them to like hopefully bring it back to their offices and figure out where they want to go from there. But yeah.
Oh, that's perfect, man. That's you're ahead of it.
Yeah.
That
I don't
that
know.
sounds
It's hard to
good.
assess where people are at in terms of like social media and their knowledge of social media. And like, I don't know. I tried to look at a couple of different folks' like social medias, and I
Yeah.
mean, it's good, but there's also a lot of dead accounts kind of just laying around in waste. And so yeah.
Hmm.
So we'll
It
see.
is. It's the main that's the main thing. It's such a variety. It's like
Mhm.
how do I, have something that everyone can take away from? And that's
Yeah. I
like
think
for mine,
and
go ahead.
no, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, just like for any talks that I've done, I did one at a professional development conference with Oregon Trio, and I ended up just like having too much content because I was
Mhm.
trying to like hit every single audience.
Yeah, yeah. When I feel like that's what we run into with Trio as a whole, with social media, is Trio programs try to make their social media for everything for everybody, and I don't think that's effective because
Yeah,
and that's kind of one thing I think I'm going to start with is like, who is your social media actually for? Is it for your students? Is it for your supporters? Is it for legislators that you're trying to influence? Is it
yeah,
for a way for you to get around the recruitment limitations from the Trio grant? Like, who actually are you doing this for? Because if you try to do all of that, it's going to be a very, very weird message. Like, for a lot of people,
yeah.
and pretty much turn off every single demographic.
I I totally agree. So I see here I've got the option. I'm gonna make you co-host,
Perfect.
which is
Perfect.
sweet. So that way, I won't have to share the screen with you,
Okay.
uh, or allow you to share your screen. You should be able to. And
Awesome.
then um, you might have the ability to do the breakout rooms, but I can do that for you either way. Just as we're
Okay.
going, let me know when it comes up.
There's one point where we talk about in the second part, which is like audiences.
Hmm.
I talk about like collaborations, and so
Hmm.
I was thinking about maybe seeing what time we're at and looking at the breakout rooms um, there and having them talk about who they could collaborate with, like within NAEOP, within Trio, what do collaborations look like? in terms of
Mhm.
social media. And so just give them a little bit of time just to talk about that, just because I'm talking about collaboration, and I feel like it'd be foolish if I didn't have them do that. We're all here. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's the only one. I might, if we have extra time, I might have them do like a share out in small groups, but I feel like I have a lot of content. So I think it'll
Yeah.
probably take the full hour. So yeah,
All right. That sounds good to
cool.
me. I will start letting participants in, and then
Awesome.
we'll get started.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you so much for all the help.
Oh man, no problem. I'm excited.
Welcome, everyone. Glad you all could join us.
Yes, welcome, welcome. Still admitting some folks here. Take just a couple more minutes and I will, maybe just another minute as I keep admitting some folks. All right, I think I'm gonna get started here. I don't see any other people waiting to get admitted, so I'm gonna jump right into it, and anyone else I can admit as we're going. But I just want to take a moment to introduce our speaker today and to say good afternoon to everyone. My name is Jordan. I am supporting Oregon Trio this year as the social media and internship coordinator. We are so thankful you all are joining us today for this NAEOP professional development series. This series, Tech Talks, are taking place on the second Thursday of each month. Today is our third talk so far. I presented our first talk about 2 months ago. Last month, we learned about newcomer trio onboarding. And today we are taking a deep dive back into social media here with Donald Crocker. Donald is the Student Support Services Assistant Director at University of Alaska Fairbanks, and he is going to share with us how TRIO programs can leverage social media to reach different audiences and take us into the modern era of communication. So without further ado, I will virtually pass the mic on over to Donald.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Thank you for that intro. I don't know if we're gonna take a full step today into the modern era, but at least we can get our toes wet into the murky waters of social media strategizing. Let me, I'm gonna drop in a couple links here into the chat, and I'll explain what both of these are. So the first one is called a parking lot. I'll explain what we're going to be doing with the parking lot here in a little bit. And then this one, which I'm going to keep for a while, is a Google form we'll be using as well. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see, let me just bring the slideshow up. And then share. Okay. And then, whoops, slideshow. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Everybody good? Perfect. Okay. So, what I decided to call this talk today is bespoke social media. So this is tailoring the platforms on social media and messaging for your specific program. So my hope is today I'm going to be taking you through the steps in a strategic way to create a comprehensive social media strategy for your office. And so we'll be going through what we normally do. So I part of the time I do strategic planning for the University of Alaska Fairbanks. So part of this work is going to be based off of what I do with the process improvement team and a process called vision navigation for strategic planning. So let me show you kind of what we're going to be looking at today. So these are the areas that we'll be touching on. My hope is we'll be able to do this within an hour, but the Google form I left will also give you a guide as well. My hope is that you'll be using this Google form as we go through today's presentation. And so I'm going to keep dropping that Google form in as we enter more people in so that they're seeing it. So we're going to start with determining your purpose. So why are you doing social media? Like, it's not just to throw stuff on the internet and say, hey, I've got the social media, you've social media. We need a purpose for why we're doing that. Also want to help to identify who your audience is and your stakeholders. I'll talk a bit more about that. Third, we're going to talk about developing a voice. So what I want to do is, hopefully by the end of today, you'll have what's called a copy word bank. So this will be common words, phrases, isms that you can use no matter who is running your social media account. And then we'll be talking a bit more about choosing the platforms that are appropriate for you. I'll be referencing, hopefully folks were here for Jordan's amazing presentation previously. Jordan talked about what platforms and demographics are appropriate. And so we'll be returning to that as well. If you weren't here for Jordan's, we can also kind of jump in and talk about, I have a not as good of a graphic as Jordan had, but I have one, so it's there. And then at the end, just some specific things to think about for planning a strategy. And hopefully at the end, we'll have a chance for some Q&A and some kind of final thoughts and some talk outs and things like that. My hope is that we may be able to use some breakout rooms as well today, but again, based on how much time we've got with each other. The other thing I will be using is what's called a parking lot. So the first link I dropped in is the link to the parking lot. Hopefully everyone's able to access that. So if you have ideas, recommendations, suggestions, and questions, you can add them to the chat, but a lot of times those can get lost as the chat kind of runs through. So that's what your parking lot is there for. If you have questions that I do not answer or no one in this call answers, make sure you put those on the parking lot, because I will go back through and I will comment on that shared Google Doc with responses to any questions that we did not get to today as well. If you are, not the big person on unmuting and talking, this can be a really handy tool as well. So, with that being said, any questions about what we're doing today? Okay, hearing none. I'm going to drop this link one more time in for some folks that just came in. Okay, so pre-planning work. These are some things I want you to think about before we get started. What does your current social media presence look like? So that's thinking about things like, which platforms are you currently using? And more specifically, when was the last time you posted on that platform? If you've posted, and I'll be honest, if you have posted, the last time you posted was maybe 3 months ago, you are going to be looking at reviving that social media account. It's not necessarily a dead account. If you haven't posted in, say, 7 years, it's definitely that is the dead account. Like, it is, yeah, you're gonna maybe want to restart your social media. But think about as we're talking about this, some folks, we have varying degrees of where folks are at with their social media presence. Some folks are very active. Some folks are maybe just thinking about it or used to do it, and now it's kind of gone into the wind. And so we want to also help you revive it. So the hope is throughout today, we'll be talking about different ways to do that. But looking at your current social media, think about what is your engagement on your post look like? How many likes are there? How many comments are there? How many people are sharing it? How many people are viewing it, right? We can do a whole other talk on just analytics of social media, because that is a whole thing. But just these basic ones, think about where you're at currently in social media. Okay, so where we'd like to start though for today is determining your purpose. So when we talk about determining your purpose, we want to go to, why are you creating this social media account? What is the reason why you have a social media account? Why do you have a Facebook? Why do you have a TikTok account, right? Jordan talked a great deal about how we can use social media as a tool to reach the students where they're at, right? In an area that is not necessarily connected to academics, a place where they feel more comfortable. Is that the purpose of your social media account? It may be. For some people, it may be a way to promote your program to legislators or people that could also be funding it, or that would be interested in looking at what you're doing, right? So building a support base that's not necessarily for your students. For some people, it may be how a way to get around recruiting limitations of TRIO programs based off of grant limitations, right? I will tell you this though, your social media accounts cannot be everything for everybody, because if you do, they're going to get muddled and it's going to be a very confusing message, and you're going to end up turning off all your demographics because they're not going to feel like they're being talked to specifically. So why is this account important to you, right? And what do you hope to accomplish when you have your ideal viewership? So to help with that, I want to do a mind mapping exercise. So I'm going to stop my share for a sec here. So if everyone can go to that Google form, it is going to ask for your email. But the reason it asks for your email is when you fill out the Google form, I have it set so that it will send you an email of all your responses. So as we go through this form together, it should send you back all your responses. So you have, it's almost like a worksheet that will send you all your responses so you can see what you were writing down, what you thought about, and then bring that back to your staff or bring that back to your supervisor. So is anyone having issues getting into the Google form? Okay, great. So if you can put your email in first, that would be fantastic. And then what we're gonna do is that next question in section 2 is determining your purpose. And so you can write down your response on that Google form, or if you have a sheet of paper and you decide you didn't want to use the Google form. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a scenario. I'd like you to close your eyes for me as I talk through this scenario, and then write down what you think. Okay. Imagine in a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you pick up your phone, you log in and you see that all your social media platforms have reached the metric goals you've set for your long-term goals. What kind of content is on your platform? What does that look like? What type of photos are there? What type of words are being said? Who are the people that are engaging with your content? Who's liking your posts? Who's sharing your posts? Who are you tagging in different posts as well? Let's go a little bit further. Who are you collaborating with? Who is working with you? What other departments, people, famous figures are working with you so that you can get cross viewership for your social media platforms? What does this communication, what does this social media look like on your campus? What does the social media look like in your community? And what does the social media look like nationally? I'd like you to think about those. And I'm gonna set a timer and we're gonna give you 5 minutes. I'd like you to write down just the things that popped into your head as I ask those questions. What does your social media look like when it is exactly where you want it to be? And I'm starting the timer. As you gather your thoughts, please write those down. Again, this is not one you really want to think about. This is your initial reaction. We're at 2 minutes now. We have a few more minutes. But again, think about what this ideal world looks like for you. Don't worry about those metrics. Don't worry about the analytics. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's the vibe of your social media? Don't worry about the platforms it's on either. We'll tailor that the platforms are there for us to make what we want of them. We need the purpose before we can figure out the platforms. I can give it 1 more minute. And we got about 15 more seconds. As we end this, don't let this, if you have more to write, continue to write. This is your presentation, this is your workshop to do what you like with it. But does anyone have anything they'd like to share? What your social media looks like? What types of things you wrote down? You're welcome to unmute yourself if you'd like. Talk about what you see, what you visioned.
Oh, wait.
One thing, oh yeah.
Oh, it says I'm muted, but it says I'm not yet. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, Lauren, yeah, we can definitely hear you. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
all yours.
Okay, I'll share a little bit and I might be totally off, so that's why I'm here. I said that our participants are the main audience, basically to be used as a communication platform for program, but also campus engagement. So maybe current events, scholarships, student life activities. We're also doing what we call a career exploration experience, which is an opportunity for informational interviews and internships. Want to continue to encourage that. Collaborators would include the diversity office, student life, and then we could use it as a recruitment tool for incoming, our high school partners, just kind of as an interest. Look here, these are some of the things that are happening. So that's what I got.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. You're right on the mark. Absolutely. You're actually you're ahead of the game. The next thing we're gonna be talking about is like who this is for, the audience, right? But these two things, the purpose and your audience, they are so intertwined. I decided to start with the purpose. But you are exactly like right on of like where you should be, and you also gave like concrete details of like specific things that you want to go toward, right? And that you want to see. And that's the more concrete we can give our social media, right? The better that product will be, because we have a specific path forward, as opposed to like just throwing stuff into the nebulous of Twitter, right? Great, awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. There is the purpose of why you have social media. There's not a wrong answer necessarily. It's just important to understand why you're doing what you're doing, because we'll get to this in a little bit, but social media can take up a lot of time if you want to do it well. And so in terms of efficiency, knowing why you're doing your social media can help reduce that time it takes to create content, because you always return back to that purpose. So we're going to be referencing this purpose for a bunch of other things. But thank you all so much. So we're going to move to the next section. Oops. And share the screen again. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is your audience and shareholders. So when you imagined this perfect world in the social media, social needs, who were you imagining engaging in your content, right? What are the demographics that make up your audience? So this could be the same demographics that make up the participants in your program. This could be the same demographics that are fellow staff or administrators, or your legislators, right? Who makes up these demographics? And the content you create. So it's, as Lauren talked about, right? These like information about events going on campus, right? Who is that benefiting? Is that benefiting your students? Is that benefiting their parents that are also maybe following you on social media because they're in, if you have SSS students and the student has just experienced their first bit of freedom and haven't told their parent a single thing about what's going on in their life, but they jump on your SSS Instagram and boom, there's their child just playing Dungeons and Dragons with other SSS folks, right? So who are the people that would benefit from that? So think about those two first. And I believe on the next part of the Google form, it asks those questions. The other thing I'd like you to think about is who are groups or individuals that your office could collaborate alongside. Social media, it's in the name, it is a social adventure, right? It is a means by which we interact with other people. And it's not just our students. Who else can we work alongside? For Lauren, it might be those other parts on campus that have those events going on, right? But at the same time, those campus entities might promote some of Lauren's events later on, or help Lauren recruit those students through their social media. So who can we benefit from as collaborators? The other thing is, we live within NAEOP, right? We have a region. Who in our region can we also collaborate with? For those of us, I'm in Alaska. There's only 2 SSS programs in Alaska. We can collaborate with Anchorage, but also who can we collaborate with in the lower 48? That's in the NAEOP region. And so these last 2 questions, I'm actually going to ask Jordan. We're going to do some breakout rooms, and we're just going to do a random one. I do not know what programs y'all are in. And I'm going to give you these 2 prompts, which is how do you see collaboration within social media, both in NAEOP and within your campus or community. Jordan, would you be able to create some breakout rooms just randomly? Maybe say 4 people in each room?
4? Yes, I will do that right now.
Okay. While Jordan's setting that up, I'm going to talk about this last one real quick, which is what are relevant hashtags. So thinking about this entire sphere of social media, right? And not thinking about the platforms, because hashtags transcend the platforms. What are relevant hashtags to your world, right? We have, what are the ones that are Trio specific? Anyone want to throw in what you think Trio ones are?
Trio works.
Trio works, absolutely. Any other ones? I think people like to push hashtag Trio Nation as well.
I also see First Gen in the comments. That's a great one.
Yep.
Trio Strong.
Trio Strong is a good one.
Yes.
Trio Alum, Trio Proud, absolutely. COE uses hashtag COE Talks a lot as well. We always have a policy seminar one as well. Here, I just wanted to show, before we break up into the groups, these are popular hashtags within education. And so as you start to think about more of where you're going to be going, what types of platforms, what type of content, if one thing to do to take it even further, which we're not going to do today, is to dig into and look at these other places that you could collaborate with, right? Find other offices that are similar to your program that are doing social media well. And as in social media, it's not stealing, it's just recognizing a good idea and then altering it to fit your needs. And take some of those ideas folks are using, but also look at the hashtags people are using, so folks will see your content that are following those hashtags as well. So let's go back. So what we're going to look at is we're going to break into groups here, just for a little bit of time, just to have like a real quick conversation about who could we collaborate with on campus, in NAEOP, in their large Trio community, in our communities in general, and what those collaborations could look like. So Jordan, were you able to send everyone to breakout rooms?
Yes, I will press the button right now. You said about 4 per room?
Yeah, 4 per room seems like a reasonable amount.
All right, here we go.
And we'll send a message when we're done. And if you're not sure on how to use breakout rooms, just click the join room button and you should be on your way. Melissa, I'm gonna send you over to room number 9. There we go.
Okay.
Folks that are still in the room, are you on? They may be away from the desk. Oh,
We still have a couple unassigned.
no, I think they just haven't joined
Okay.
the room. Yeah, looks like Luana might be away from the desk. I can see a chair empty. Yeah, thanks for setting those up. I realize I didn't give you a heads up about like the randomizing thing, but I figured that might be the easiest way.
Oh yeah, no problem at all.
Okay. I'm gonna start.
This
We'll give them 5 minutes.
perfect.
Yeah.
This is great so far. I love the interactive component
Oh, good.
and just even sharing these hashtags. I went through the chat and copy and pasted them into the shared doc.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm even taking note on a few of those I haven't used. So those
I
are
haven't
great.
seen, yeah, I was like, I haven't seen Trio Strong before, but that's
Yeah.
a cool one. Just, yeah.
Me either. Yeah, I'm always looking for new ones,
Mm-hmm.
new good ones, because it's always nice you can just search it on whatever platform you're on and see
Mm.
exactly how many posts are out there with it. So for
Yeah,
me, if
absolutely.
there's over 100, then I'm in.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. For a bit of time, we had it was like before I think Matt took over social media stuff, but we were trying to use our own hashtags, but nobody was using them. And I was like,
Mhm.
and we were like, well, because we're just creating our own that no one knows about. Like
Exactly.
we just
Yeah.
got, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, anything I'm trying to like anything we can do to be like, go find the important hashtags. We just jump
Yes.
on that. We don't need to recreate these things.
No. Just go with, yeah, when in doubt, Trio works.
Yep, exactly. Right.
That's the one. Yeah.
How's your time going with OTA?
Oh, it's been great. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I mean, especially after, because my position is completely remote. So we had a professional
Oh.
development conference for all programs in the state in April
Mhm.
and at the beginning of April. And that, that was great just to finally put, that was in person. So to finally put faces, to those names was really good.
Oh,
And I,
nice.
yeah, feel a lot even more,
Yeah.
connected and all that. So
Well, good. Awesome.
yeah, it's been great.
And is yours are you an AmeriCorps or a Vista?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, Vista member. So I'm going through my year term with AmeriCorps ends in November.
Okay. Okay.
But it looks like I may be staying on another year with OTA and after I leave AmeriCorps. So yeah,
Oh, awesome. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, just
Nice.
to maintain a social media kind of as like a
Mhm.
contractor. So should
Oh,
be
very
good.
cool. And then you can
Yeah.
still work, yeah, remote and like do remote
Yep.
work still, and very, very cool.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I want to keep going with it, keep the
Yeah,
momentum going.
awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you're sticking around. You're great influence on this region.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm glad too.
All right, we're at 1:30, so I'm gonna send a message out
Perfect.
to let them know. So actually, I've actually left Trio. I'm
really?
no longer the associate director. This is
Oh,
actually my
really?
last. Yeah, I work for Rural Student Service. I just started on Monday. I work for a place called Rural Student Services. So I
Oh,
work
wow.
specifically serving Alaskan Native and rural Alaskan students. So like folks from like villages and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But this is kind of this is my last thing I had committed to for Trio. So
Oh, that is too funny.
yeah.
So you already had this schedule
Yeah, yep.
or the,
I agreed to do this about 4 months ago with Matt, and I was like, well, I can't. Make a promise. You can't back out. You don't want to back out on a promise. So
right.
yeah.
Oh
All
man.
right. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you. That sounds
Yeah.
just as impactful, if not more. So
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's an incredible office. So yeah, I'm gonna close up these rooms and then give them that 60-second mark to come back.
perfect. Yeah, I'm glad you're more familiar with all of this. I haven't hosted a lot, just a couple meetings, but not with big groups like this. So that's cool. I wouldn't have known. You press it gives you 60 seconds after you close them. That's good to know.
Yeah, I've been doing for a while I was doing trivia over Zoom. And
Uh-huh.
so it's like you drop like a trivia question in on the shared screen, and then each team has like a breakout room, and they
Uh-huh.
get like, and as soon as they drop in, you give them you open the room and then immediately close it, and they have 60 seconds to figure out the answer. Um, and so it's
Oh, wow.
handy, but it can be it's a stressful thing as well
Yeah.
because you have that timer going. Yeah. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for engaging in that conversation. Anyone like to report back or talk about anything in terms of collaborations or potential collaborators that you thought of for your social media?
All right, I'll jump out there.
Oh yeah, thanks so much, man.
So we have my name's Pam. I'm the director of the McNair Scholars Program at Central Washington University. And we have Student Support Services TRIO program on campus. So we definitely collaborate with them. We have a camp program. We have something called LLAS, Latin and Latin American Studies. So we collaborate with them. The director of that program happens to be a former McNair scholar from another institution. So they know what we're doing. So we collaborate with them. With our library, we have some very involved librarians who want to partner with our scholars. So we definitely collaborate with them. And that's pretty much it.
That's a great list. That's a great list. I mean, you're hitting a lot of, so, one of the important things about thinking about your collaborations are what are the demographics that your presence alone will not immediately hit, right? And so, Pam presented some great options between, in a wide range of different demographics and, social circles. So thinking about ways social circles can interact or maybe don't necessarily interact with each other and how we can reach those to widen our audience. So, Pam's example of the librarians connecting with the McNair scholars is great. Like, I mean, in my head, I envision like, some cool, like, fun library posts with like librarians and like books and like, or like the research that the scholars are doing and like, and then it's cross-listed, cross-promoted on both accounts and you're tagging each other and stuff like that. So I think, thinking about when we think about our audience and our shareholders, thinking about also, identifying those demographics, but then also saying, realistically, are we reaching all these demographics? And if we're not, who can and who is? And that's doing that research to see, how else can we reach our students? You know, it's as Jordan talked about in his presentation was, students are on social media in a lot of different ways, and they're in a lot of different subcircles, things like that, as we want to figure out where they're at and how we can reach them. And so the use of collaboration, the use of hashtags to try and reach them can be really important. One thing I'd also recommend is find out what are the relevant hashtags, not only to Trio, right? And because if we continue to use Trio hashtags, we live in a Trio bubble. But what are relevant hashtags to your students, right? What are relevant hashtags to the age demographics that you're currently doing? What are trends that are going on right now that are beyond Trio Works as a way to reach those students as well? Just recently, I'm on TikTok a lot. One that is very popular right now is the Lizzo dance to About Damn Time. Everyone seems to be doing it, at least on my TikTok. I don't know how everyone else is. But if you're so inclined and you have a TikTok account, maybe do that Lizzo dance. Have some fun. Find a way to humanize your office to connect with those students as well. Okay, any questions about identifying your audience and shareholders? Okay. So we're going to move on to developing your voice. So this is very, 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 very important. In developing a voice for your social media, you really want to have one singular voice, right? And you want to make sure, and you want to avoid what's called, I would refer to as a cult of personality, which is you have one social media person creating content, and then if that social media person leaves or gets overwhelmed and is unable to create that content, either that social media presence goes away, it dwindles, or it's just completely left to provide nothing, right? So having a unified voice so that anyone in your office that is could pick up that social media mantle and continue to post. And so how do we do that though, right? How do we provide a consistency on all of our platforms in the way we message? One of the most important ways I feel is to create what's called a word bank. It's a copy word bank. For nonprofits, this is really popular in terms of the outreach of reaching out to donors and using the same type of messaging or the same vibe of a message. And so we as Trio professionals can do that in our social media as well. I feel like we should. Now, this is not going to happen right away. Just like when a writer is trying to find their voice, right? It's going to take time, right? We all can't write the Confederacy of Dunces our first go, right? Sometimes we're going to be writing our sad 5th grade poetry that kind of rhymes but really doesn't make any sense, and that's okay. It just takes time to move forward. So with that being said, we want to try and work on creating a copy word bank, right? What this will do is it's, again, focused on the program and not the individual. When we have a word bank, it's something we can always go back to if we're not sure, because content creation takes a lot of brain energy, right? It can take a lot of time. We can't do content creation within 30 seconds, once a day, right? We really want, if we want to tailor our content to get to our audiences, we need to be, we have to be creative. But if you're in a rut, returning back to your word bank you've created can help you find that inspiration. It also can help, if you have stuff you already know you want to put in that you're constantly using, it will make that content creation a bit more efficient. So I'm going to stop my share real quick. And so on the in the Google form, I'm going to share this real quick. In the Google form, under developing your voice, these are some prompts that I'd like you to try and fill out for yourself about your program. So first off, really simple. This is your elevator pitch. In 2 to 3 sentences, describe your program, right? When you and your staff talk about your program to new students, right? What are the values you present? What is that subtext, those values that will shine through in any conversation you have about what we do as TRIO professionals? So what are the core values of your program? This next one, isms and unique phrases your programs like to use. So if there are specific like jokes you have running throughout your program, you have, I know in Fairbanks, there's a mascot that is used. This would be appropriate to put that mascot in there. If you have, quirky things you like to say or post, and please put that on there, because that is what makes your content unique. So these are isms and unique phrases your program would like to use. This next one, service description. So what do you do? What does it look like, right? What are all the things that you provide to your students? Yeah, hashtag sincerely awkward. That's a good one. That's one that we have used a lot, absolutely, and at Fairbanks. So what are the services that are most appealing to your students and to your audience and to your shareholders? Because not always are students your audience and shareholders. Descriptors of students. So how do we talk about our students, right? What are some common words, common adjectives, adverbs? I'll throw some out there that I think I know are familiar: grit, resilience, right? Authentic. Those are, those types of things. Does your school or program have a tagline? UAF here is naturally inspiring. Good one. It's okay. Yeah. At one point, we wanted all students to take a bunch of classes. So we said, take a full load, hashtag take a full load. It's a weird tagline. You should never have used it. So, but what is your school needs? And then also, what are common call to action phrases you use? Like, check out these students, learn more, get involved, or TRIO strong, right? Those are common call to action phrases. So what are those? So what you want to do is fill in these areas, right? And when you submit this form, it'll give you back all you filled in, and you'll have a word bank, at least the start of a word bank. If it sounds like there's some of you that are directors, bring this to your staff, collaborate with them about the ways that you would fill out this word bank, so that you have a collective set of words that you will use throughout your social media, so that you can find that singular unified voice to talk about on your social media. So any questions about creating a word bank? When I was talking to Jordan earlier, I told him this is not a flashy presentation. I don't have a lot of cool stuff. What we're looking at is the nitty gritty of how do we create social media, which is not as flashy. The back end of social media is a lot of sitting around thinking about how I'm going to say something, right? It's not that flashy. So, because of interest of time, we're not going to, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you all time to go through these, but get rid of this thing. I'm going to talk about the last couple pieces here. Okay, so you've got your purpose, you've got your audience, right? And you've got a word bank of how you want to say things, right? Now, in my opinion, is a time in which you can choose the platform or platforms you want to live on social media. Because like I said before, you can manipulate the platform and the content. You can manipulate your content to fit any platform, right? It's just choosing which ones are appropriate. One thing I think a lot of folks make a mistake about is saying, okay, well, everyone's on this platform, I should be on this platform as well, right? That's not necessarily true. You may have a bunch of, you might be an up or down program, and you're like, someone told you LinkedIn is where everyone should be for social media connection. It might not be. It may, it may not want to do that. So it's where is your audience and stakeholders living on social media? We can make assumptions about students, where they're at and what social media they're using. But we can also ask them in a simple survey. I would highly recommend a simple survey of what type of social media your stakeholders, your audience chooses. We can look at this. So this is the graphic. It's not as cool as Jordan's, but this is the general demographics of the ages and of folks that use the biggest social media platforms. So if you're not familiar with these logos, this first one on the left is Facebook. Next to it is Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then rounding at the end is TikTok. So when we look at these, we want to think to ourselves, yes, what is the best way, where are our students at? But we also want to think of how many hours a week will be dedicated to content creation and engagement, right? Or how much is social media written into the employee or employees overseeing your content and engagement? Because if you're wanting to join TikTok, you're gonna need to come up with videos, edit those videos, post those videos. That's gonna take up a lot of time. Or if you wanted to join into Twitter, to be relevant on Twitter, you're gonna need to have someone almost on there 24/7, constantly interacting, because Twitter is such a fast-paced moving thing, right? So think about how much time your office can spare, and not spare, how much your office can dedicate to social media content creation, how important this is for you to connect. I personally would argue this is very important. Again, this is, social media is where our students are at, right? That's one of our many stakeholders, but it's where we can connect with them in an area that is not as high stakes as, as being in a college or in a high school, right? Or in an academic area, and where they feel like they can express themselves the most. So it is something I think you should think about, of how much you want to dedicate to quality content creation. Because in the end, and once you decide on this platform, start doing research on how often you should be posting, right? For example, Instagram. I've always known, and Jordan, you can, if you correct me if I'm wrong. I've always known post about once a day, no more than 3 times a day, for Instagram, for it to be, to continue to thrive and gain relevance. Facebook, you don't need to post as much, maybe a couple times a week. But Twitter, you've gotta, it is a beast. You gotta be on there, just responding to people, throwing stuff on there. It's a lot of fun, but also it's a lot. So think about how much time you want to dedicate when you're choosing your social media platform. Please do not choose a social media platform because you heard everyone else is on the social media platform. Figure out what works best for your staff and best for your audience. Questions on choosing your platform? Okay, very last thing. Oh, sorry. One thing, and this is, I feel like this is just a pet peeve of mine, and it might not be anybody else's. But using multiple platforms, please do not post the exact same message on every single platform. I know Instagram and Facebook allow you to post the same exact message, but the formatting is different and it will look weird. And it may, in my opinion, it can make your messaging feel a bit dull, feel a bit flat, because your followers, if they're on multiple media platforms that you're on and they're following you, they'll see the same message, right? It's just, it reduces the impact of that message. So take the message you have, right? Have an original message and then slightly alter it to fit the media that you're posting on. It doesn't have to be big. The other thing you can do is say you can reference to other social media platforms you have. So say, for example, you have a really cool story about a student, right? And maybe you post up a thing on Facebook and it's a picture and a paragraph. Add in at the end, see the full story on our YouTube page. So you're cross-referencing within your own social media sphere. That's another way, so you're not posting the exact same message on all social media platforms. So the last thing I wanted to leave you with, because I realize we're getting close to the end of time, is planning your strategy. The most important thing you can do for your social media strategy, for developing a strong social media presence, is creating realistic and measurable goals and making sure those goals have a timetable. So saying, we want to see this many new followers, right? This many organic follows by the end of this fall semester, right? Or how we want to have collaborated with these 5 different groups, right? By the end of the month. Set measurable goals so that you can assess them, but also set long-term goals. Say, in a year, we want to move from 200 followers or 200 likes, 200 followers to 1,000, right? And then you can build a strategy to fit in that middle part of how you're going to get there. But set goals and set a timetable for yourself. And within those long-term goals, those 1 to 5 year plus goals, build in milestones that have a timetable as well. So say you want to hit 5,000 followers in 3 years. By year 2, I need to have at least 2,000 followers, right? So you set these measurable timetable goals so you're not losing your momentum. And you have these small steps to get to that larger one. The other thing is, when you're planning out your strategy, think about important dates, events, holidays that you can engage on, because that's where you can also get some recognition. Think about, when is Trio Day, right? When is graduation? When is finals? When is midterms? When is, for those in high school, when senior skip day, right? Think about and plan out these types of these things, these important dates, and then create content around them. So in the worksheet, the Google form, there is some questions to start to think about developing your strategy. Developing a comprehensive strategy can take a good amount of time. You also want, the last thing I'll say is, you want to take time, if you are wanting to be very serious about the measurable goals. One of the best ways is to analyze your metrics, either semesterly or quarterly. How much engagement are we seeing? How many times are people sharing our posts? What demographics are sharing those posts? So if you create these pages, right, you as the owner should be able to see these demographic metrics. So take time and build those into the rest of the assessments you have for your semester or your quarter or for your year, to look at your social media metrics as well, so that you know you're going one way, or if it's trending a different way, you can lean into that trend and really tailor your message to, a specific thing that people are really liking. Or if it's not working at all, say, okay, what's going on? What can we do to improve? And so making sure you're constantly doing an analysis as well. I realize that I am at the end of my time. It's at 3 o'clock. Thank you all so much. Last couple of things I just want to leave you all with. As you're thinking about building a comprehensive strategy, build the plan, work the plan. You just got to trust in the fact that this type of stuff, getting these shares, likes, all this stuff, they're not going to normally happen overnight. A lot of us are not going to go viral like within the first time we do social media, right? We're not Stephen Moldhauer. And so so keep working your plan, keep fine tuning it, keep looking at it. But again, keep consistent. That's the most important thing. Think about collaborating with the NAEOP community. It's a really great community that can, reach multiple states and multiple folks. And then finally, don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun with social media. It's what it's supposed to be. So, I realize that my presentation is very like a relatively serious one because we're looking at strategizing, right? But don't take yourself too seriously. Get fun, get goofy, lean into trends that your students find relevant. That's okay. Not like they're not going to, respect you any less because you did, you did a cool dance or you lip sync something that was goofy, So, anyways, with these final minutes, any questions folks have at all? Or any other thoughts for the good of the order today? Well, so thank you all so much again for being here. We have, Jordan, do we have another one coming up soon in a month?
Yes, we do. On the second Thursday of next month. I don't have the calendar next to me, but on the Google Calendar invite for this presentation, there is an attachment for the flyer that has all of the dates for our upcoming Tech Talks. So check that out for our next one. But this was great. I threw in the chat that I have so many takeaways myself, and I encourage everyone to use this Google Doc that Donald has provided for us to share tips with one another or ideas, anything like that. Share each other's social media to follow one another. Any opportunities like we have for those is, we want to take advantage of it. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you being here. Again, if you have questions, if you feel comfortable asking them right now, throw them into that parking lot. I will go back through later tonight and respond to any and all questions that are in there. And as Jordan said, that Google form is for you to continue to use. We will just, just use it as much as you like. It's essentially view it as a virtual worksheet for this presentation. So thanks again, everybody.
All right.
Thank you all. That was great.
Bye. Jeff.
Donald, thank you. Great seeing you.
Hey, it's great to see you too, bud.
Man, be well, my friend. I like the stash.
Oh.
Looking good.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Right on. Good seeing you all.
Man.
Good seeing you, Jeff.
Take care, buddies.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye. Jordan, thank you so much. I had so much fun.
Absolutely. Yes, that was great, man. I wish you all the best as you move forward.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for everything you're doing for NAEOP and for Trio. You're doing great work, man.
Oh man, I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. All right,
Yep.
see ya.
See ya.